Hey guys, we're back. This time it's something a little bit different. This is a really early prototype of a game called Tavern Tales, Legends of Dungeon Drop from Phase Shift Games. And it's a set collection. I kind of think of it as like a trick-taking game where you're basically telling the stories of the heroes of Dungeon Drop. And you have these 5 locations out here, and each one of them at the start of the game is going to have 3 resources available, and they're going to, should be this way actually, but you're going to be using different heroes to tell the story of how you adventured to these locations and collected the various treasures that are there. And to do so, you're going to have a hand of heroes, and you start off with 6 and you have to discard 2, so you keep 4 in your hand. And the way you use these heroes are by playing them at the locations at the top. So whoever starts the round is going to choose a hero type, and some of these, like these guys, can only go to 1, which lists them as a specialist. And the difference is, so the dwarf here can only go to the sanctum. If he does, he gets to choose 2 of the treasures here. So you say he had an adventure in the sanctum where he recovered a pink gem and some armor or whatever consumable you want there. Then it goes to the next player, and if they have a card that also says sanctum, they can say, well, no you didn't, I was there, I'm the one that did that. And then it goes around the table until nobody disputes your claim, and whoever's still the active will get the rewards. And then the way the rewards work is they have these little tier things on the top, and the first one you claim is worth 1 point, the second one you get will be worth 3, the third will be worth 5, and so on, and they change depending on what kind of item it is. So in this case, if these were your first, you would get 2 points, 1 for each of these. And then you move up your tracker here. The cards that were used get discarded, these get replenished, and it goes on to the next player. So when it comes around to your turn, if you have less than your hand limit in your hand, you can continue to play by telling a new story with a new hero card going for a new location, or you can think and drink, which basically lets you draw up to 3 cards, and then you have to discard back down to whatever your hand size is. So in this case 4. So we can get rid of the oddball out here. The idea is you want to collect multiple cards with the same locations on them so that you can continue on your story and keep taking, you're trying to take the hand that's played. So in this case we would say we're going to explore the, what do we have here? We'll say we're going to start with our specialist so we can get extra, and we're going to explore the glade. So you can take your 2 items that you want from there, and it doesn't have to be the top 2. You can pick and choose what you want. So in this case, we don't want the treasure chest. We'll take the gold and the gems. And we're adventuring. We just got back from an adventure in the glade where we picked up these 2, and then you would go to your next player, and they would have their cards, and they say, no, I was there. It wasn't you. It was me. And then it goes around the table and comes back to you, and you go, well, no, really, it was the Dragonkin will back me up. We were there. And they say, oh, well, I don't have any more cards I can play, so I guess it was you. And then you get to take these and add them to your collection. And again, you score the points based on how many you've previously gotten. Move up your marker and go on. These are going to get replaced, and so on. So in the end, you kind of want to look at what you're going to get for an item. So in this case, say we had a bunch of gems over here. This is what we already have in our in our stash. and somebody's going to take another gold on their turn. Now, another gold is only going to get us 1 point. So it might not be worth us using our hero to take that away from them, as we might want that later on, because you don't get to replenish these until your turn comes back around, and it actually takes you a turn to replenish your hand instead of staking a new claim. So it might not be worth it to take something. Whereas if we already had 2 gold in our stash over here, and the third one, now somebody's trying to take another piece of gold, and we look at ours, a third piece for us would be 6 points. So it might be worth it for us to pitch in to try to steal that away from them. And it's a really interesting concept, the way that it adds up and works out, in that you're constantly deciding if it's worth your best interest to put in your heroes to try to take those. And ideally, like I said, you want to collect up a bunch of guys that are in the same one. Start with a specialist so you can choose 2 items instead of just 1. If you start with just a regular guy, say he's going to go to the Sanctum, you only get the top item. You don't get the 2 that you get for a specialist. So it really pays to plan ahead on what you want and pay attention to what other people are getting, so that you can try to deny them those, like a treasure chest. A single treasure chest is only worth 1, but a second chest is worth 6. So maybe you want to stop somebody from getting that second chest even though you don't need it. And it's an interesting concept. I like the way it plays out. I see it more as a trick-taking game, because you're starting a hand by playing this guy here. He's going to take the chest, and now it goes around the table and everybody gets to play whatever they have to try to take that back. Now this player has it, and then you go on, and now this player has it, until whoever has it last is the one who takes the hand, scores the points for it, and then you replenish things, and then you go on. The score counters go up to 15 on one side, and you have a 4-card max hand size. Once you get to 16 points, you flip it over, and now you have a 3-card hand size for the rest of the game until you get up to 30, which is when the winner is declared. There's also a couple variations to the game to add difficulty, where your locations here, and again, these are all temporary cards. This isn't even sure this is the way it's going to be, but where you have your areas here, instead you play with the flip side, and now one of this location's beats is hidden. So when you put the cards out on here, you're going to put 1 face down and then the 2 face up, and now nobody knows what that face down one is. You can choose it as the treasure you're going after, but nobody has any idea what it is. And there's different variations of those. All of the ones of the prison end up face down. This one has 2 revealed. These must be taken in order. That one's kind of interesting because you have your 3 cards. And if you want this pink gem at the top here, you have to get rid of these other ones first. And you have to take them in the order that they are on there. So it doesn't allow you to pick and choose like other ones do. And then the final one is has 4 revealed fates. And again, these are all subject to change because this is an early prototype. All the artwork's going to change and things, but you get the basic idea for it. The second, more advanced way is to add in these Rainbow Elite Hero cards. And right now there's only 3 of them, but that may change. But they have every location at the top here, which means they can be played on any location. The catch is that they cannot start a claim on an expedition or on a site. So you would originally have to play a normal hero or a specialist to stake a claim to start one. Once it's in play, these are basically a trump card. You play them, and you can play them on any location, and it gives you control. There's some special abilities on here that trigger when they're played that can change what's going on. Like this guy, for example, you return all the beats to a location. Basically, somebody's got this going where they staked the claim, they have 2 treasures, and it goes around and you decide to play yours. These go back to where they were, and it ends that, basically. So they're a neat little thing. They can change things up a little bit. They're a little more complicated to use. You got to get used to the basic rules first before you add those into your games, though. And then the final thing are the Relics. And these were a new addition. They started out as a solo-only thing for Dungeon Drop, and with the new expansion, they're a new item in that. But they're basically the one-of-a-kind relics, the most powerful items you can find in a dungeon. And these are going to be randomly in your feat deck. And when somebody takes one, the first one's only worth 1 point, the second one's only worth 1 point. But the second somebody takes a third one, suddenly it's worth 12 points. And if you can collect all of them, the next one's worth 16. So they become very powerful, and if you see somebody take 1 or 2 of them, then when you need to start worrying about making sure they don't collect any more. And those get added into the normal feats and just become a more powerful version of other treasure in there. There's also this awesome first player token, which is going to get passed around to designate whose turn it is. Overall, though, I think it's a pretty interesting game. I like the concepts in it. It's a pretty simple to pick up, but there's some complicated things you can do. And it really matters what the group of people you play with and how they interact. You get people who are going to bluff on if they have a certain hero or not. Maybe they're hoping it'll go back around the table and come back to them to do things, and then they can change their mind. You don't have to play a card if you have one, if you don't want to, and you can save them. If somebody stakes a claim and it goes around, everybody plays cards in it, and then it comes around to your turn, you realize most people only have 1 or maybe no cards in their hand, and suddenly you know you're going to take this one because nobody can stop you because they don't have any cards. So it's hand management as well as the set collection of the different feats to complete the sets here that you're trying to get. And certain things are like gems. Each one you get, it gradually gets worth more and more points. Most of the gems are that way. Gold. Treasure goes up and down. Sometimes it's worth a lot, sometimes not. It kind of skips back and forth. And the consumable treasures, they go up and then they go back down at the end. So there's kind of a diminishing returns on some of the treasures too. So you kind of have to think about what sets you're trying to collect and pay attention to what sets other people have. I think unfortunately this Kickstarter coming out at the same time as Dungeon Drop, the Drop Too Deep, this game kind of got overshadowed a little. None of the stretch goals or anything I've seen so far have gone towards this game, which is kind of a shame, but it does look like it has a little bit longer way to go before it's finished. There's definitely a lot more artwork to go, and they mentioned maybe changing the scorecards and things. But the game itself, I think, has a solid core here, and I can't wait to see where they go with it. If this looks like something you'd be interested in, be sure to check out the Kickstarter, which is going on now. I think it's set to be delivered around July 2021, so it's going to be a while. But definitely check it out. It's on Kickstarter now. I'll put the link down in the description. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.